Hello everyone, this is my presentation for the fitness presentations. This is coping strategies for paramedics. So we deal with a lot of stress. So stressful situations, um, all our calls can be super stressful. When you're calling for an emergency, it's not usually something that's easy and carefree. Difficult situations such as death, sexual assault, traumas, anything of the above. Long hours is something that paramedics usually work, so we usually work in 12-hour shifts, often at night. So that's definitely something that can add to stress among the other things we have to deal with, such as the stressful situations and difficult calls. When you combine those, that's a very bad recipe. Burnout can occur for a number of reasons, and all of those combined, and most notably, although they are all important, PTSD and post-traumatic stress disorder from any of those things combined. Stressful situations, difficult calls, long shifts, mix those all together, they can occur. So, focusing on the dimensions of wellness, really, you could relate this to all of them, but most notably, emotional wellness and physical wellness are probably the two prominent ones when it comes to stress and coping strategies for paramedics. So, those are probably the two closest related when you read our textbook. But again, you could really relate all of these to it in a way, but because PTSD is more of a emotional and somewhat a physical um, disorder as well. That would be the ones it would affect. So in terms of effective coping strategies, upon my research, which I'm going to get into in a few slides, counseling is definitely a viable, I guess, cope with the stress that can occur with these issues. Definitely talking to somebody, even if it's our friend or family, just another person, but definitely a professional is preferred. Spiritual wellness was an interesting one. Religion was suggested. I'm going to get into that in a later slide, but basically, whatever you find to be physical, or sorry, whatever you find to be spiritual and fulfilling to yourself, and affirmation, becoming one with your inner self. So, whatever you would find affirming, whether it's leaving the stress behind or doing something that makes you feel accomplished, that's really one of the key ways through treatment that can help with that. There's a couple cases that I wanted to discuss that I found through my research. So the first one was a case about an earthquake in New Zealand. Lots of post-traumatic stress disorder as a result with the first responders in the incident. And it was very prevalent for a long period of time after it because of the nature of the event. It defined PTSD and how individuals cope with it. So they monitored the first responders that they had selected and kind of saw how they would interact with PTSD. And they tried implementing active strategies. So, whether it's acceptance, spirituality, resilience, all three combined, those were the keys to they found helping people move on from PTSD. Another case that I found was the relationship between resiliency and post-traumatic growth. So in this study, resiliency and growth were cited as the end goal. They studied 80 paramedics and their stressors, and they recorded the data and analyzed it. Coping strategies such as meditation and spirituality were definitely discussed as a coping mechanism. And it was found that meditating was actually one of the best ways that helped most of the people in this case, or a good number of them. So through being able to let go through all of that, they were able to kind of leave it behind, or not leave it behind, but maybe come to a place of acceptance with it. And that's important because that's a coping mechanism and contributes to your overall wellness, which would feed into the dimensions of wellness. Resiliency is a common theme throughout all the studies I found. So after doing the research, what I found was that resiliency sounded like the best way to overcome stressful stressors in the profession. So be it through, you know, whatever you're feeling accomplished for doing something small, like maybe, I don't know if you're into building things or small projects that you can feel like you accomplished something. It allows you to feel like you've accomplished something and then start moving forward. And that is how you can kind of put it behind you. Be it that we would deal with that on a pretty relevant basis. I think it's important to engage in that to maintain your wellness and to maintain just your ability to respond to stressors in the job. I think that's a super big key to that. And these are my references to it. Thank you for watching my presentation.